Welcome to tonight's webinar, What Does God Say About Money and Giving? Now, let me just preface right away to set expectations. I am not a financial counselor. I am not here with some get-out-of-debt scheme. But what I want to do and what Learn Logos is all about is equipping you to study God's Word for yourself with this amazing tool of Logos Bible software. And tonight is no different than any other night in which we're going to teach you how to find the answers to these questions along the way. So very excited to bring you this topic. So first we're going to cover some recommended but not required resources, make you aware of the kind of books that Logos has in its digital library to help you answer these questions. We'll look at 4 ways to discover biblical passages relating to wealth. We'll look at 9 ways for finding major passages and cross-references on this topic. We'll show you how to perform a passage analysis and give you insights on how you can glean information from the books in your library. We'll also show you some specialized searches to find additional articles on key topics. We'll look at some suggested passages for studying the topic of stewardship. And we'll even play around with that new tool in Logos 5 with the 5.1 release, image searching, and so forth. So very excited to cover tonight's webinar. Coming soon, in fact, this Friday, July 12th, 6:30 to 9:30 at Grace Community Church. You can sign up for a free training. It's 3 hours. And just go to LearnLogos.com, go up to the training. In fact, let me go ahead and just pull that in real quick so you guys can see that. And that way you know exactly where to go on the website. So let me bring that right in here. And if you scroll over to the right, there's a section called Mini Seminars. And if you click on the event button, it'll take you right there and you can sign up by just adding to the cart. So very excited to offer that and looking forward to traveling to California and all that. Also in Chicago, August 17th, we've got a full day of training from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That one is $45, but it does include the DVD training bundle. So if you're going to be in the Chicago area, looking forward to having you there at that training as well. As far as the webinar itself, after tonight, if you're new to this and you're interested in purchasing it, we make it available usually within 48 hours. They're taking a little bit longer than usual lately because I've been editing them in a little more detailed fashion to just improve the quality. So if there's a question that maybe I want to take out or too many ums and ahs or a cough, some of that will go away with the edited webinar. And we make that available to you at 50% off at $4.99. So if you're trying to take notes, trying to follow along, and it's just so much information, which is what the webinar is designed to be, we make that available very inexpensive for you. And then for those of you who haven't yet purchased the Logos bundle training, this is a different format than the webinar. I have 4.0 training as well as 5.0 now, and the orange disc covers all the features of Logos 5, and then the blue disc is the book overview. So I cover over 282 book overviews for the Logos 5. There's about 130 for the Logos 4. And the purpose of that is to help you understand not only the books in your library, what other books are there that you could purchase to enhance your library. And then the green DVD is really the gem of it, because what I do is I take you through a passage. In this case, it's the passage on the parable of the sower, and we show you how to use Logos to study a Bible passage. So it's more than just learning about the features of Logos. That's where most other people's training stops. We go way beyond, and I like to call it the 4 aspects of training. The first aspect is learn a feature. Second aspect is connecting that feature to a task. The third aspect is connecting that task to a study methodology. And the fourth aspect is connecting that methodology to specific resources in your library. And when you put all 4 of those together, that's how you can really learn to use Logos. So take advantage of our 50% off special. I know you'll be thrilled with the training, and you can get that at LearnLogos.com/buy now. Oh, one more announcement. On July 18th, our next webinar is a start of a new series, and it's called Theology 101. And what it's going to do is introduce you to the major themes or major topics, major theological themes of the Bible. There's 12 of them that I've identified, and we're going to take 3 of them at a time, so it's going to be a 4-part series, and we're going to show you how to find out what does the Bible say about itself. What does the Bible say about God? what does the Bible say about Christ? And so we're going to tackle these amazing topics, show you how to use these tools, what are the best resources, and introduce you to theology through a 4-part series. So the first part will kick off July 18th. And if you go to LearnLogos.com/events, you can sign up for that and the other ones. Plus, you can see the remaining schedule for 2013. So very thrilled to bring that to you. So let's switch back now to Logos, and let's go to the personal book that I've created. Now, this personal book is available with the purchase of the webinar. And the reason I include the personal book is because many times people ask me, oh, John, how did you do that? Or can you pass me the collection you used and the rule and all your notes? And so by integrating that into a personal book, you can have it inside your Logos program, and then you can watch the video side by side, and everything is there. So for example, let me scroll down to the recommended but not required resources. You can see it. Every book is identified with a bibliography, and then there's a buy it link to LearnLogos.com store and an own it link. So if you do own the resource, you can just click that there. The book opens up right away into your workspace, and away you go. So it's a real handy way to work with some of these resources, whether you have them or not. And as you can see over at the left, I have a very detailed outline of my notes and tonight's topic. So all this is included with the purchase of the webinar, and you will find this extremely valuable in your training. But I do want to make mention of one sermon that you definitely would want to spend some time looking over in preparation for the next webinar. John MacArthur has done a sermon on titled Abusing the Poor, and it's based off of Luke 21:1-4. And this one you're all familiar with. It's the widow's mite. And the question that he addresses in the sermon is, what is the purpose and teaching of the widow with the widow's mite? She gave everything. And is she a model for our giving? Or is she a victim of a religious system that has failed to take care of widows? And this is, I heard about the sermon, I've listened to it, and it's absolutely a must-have. Because we have, many of us in our church background have been taught that the widow's mite, the widow who gave up everything, is the example of sacrificial giving. And John MacArthur challenges that presupposition, and it's well worth your read. Now, there's good people who disagree on both sides, and I'm not here to take a position tonight, and that's not my purpose. But I do want to make you aware of it because it's just an excellent sermon, but it really gets you thinking about the widow in a new, fresh way that many have, I think, missed. So take advantage of that. There's a text as well as free online audio. Just go to grace2u.gty.org, I believe is the website, and look up Luke 21:1-4, Abusing the Poor, and you'll find that there. Now, with that being said, I have created a collection for you to kind of organize all your books so you can have them in one place so you can search just those books. And that's going to be very important when you're studying a topic like this. So let me go ahead and move the collection down so you can see that more easily. And let me move this to the side. And let's go ahead and open up Logos. Let me close all these resources down. And let's create this collection together. So I'm going to go to the main menu, and I'm going to click on Tools. And then we're going to look for Collections, which is the first menu choice. So there's Collections. And what we want to do is we want to name this collection Money and Giving. So go ahead and type in Money and Giving for the collection name. Now, in the rule box, you want to put in the following. Now, I've included a rule for both money and giving because all those resources should be kept together. So there's subject : money, space, all capital letters, very important you do that, space, or, and then another space, subject : finance, and you can see the rest are there. Now, while you're looking and typing at that, let me explain why I'm using the word subject or the word title. Down below, I have changed my view into the grid view. So if your view looks like this, big books, go ahead at the right and click the view button. And that will turn the big books into little books into this grid view. And doing so will reveal these various columns of information. So there's a type column, there's the title column, the author. And if I were to go to the bottom and scroll to the right, I can see another column titled Subjects. So what I'm doing is I'm putting in the subject, or I'm putting the title of the column in there, then putting a colon, and then picking a word from the list that I believe represents what I'm looking for in the book. And by doing that, I'm filtering out books I don't want, and I'm filtering books that I do want. And that's what creates the list of books in your collection. The reason you want to create collections is because searching your whole library usually returns too many results. But if you can return results on a set of books that you believe is a good set of books, like let's say you're studying the topic of money, well, anything that's going to come out of your money collection is going to be very relevant to your studies. And so now you can have a fewer search results, and you'll have better results, and you'll have a much easier time working through your resources. So creating collections is a very important strategy. And so you'll see I've got money, finance, giving. Then I have tithe with a little star in there. That star is a wild card. It's just kind of a habit I've got myself into because it could be tithing, tithed, etc. And I just want all those. Logos is usually pretty smart and gets those automatically for you, but I just don't like to take the chance, and so I put a star in there. You can see the title money or the title finance or the title or the subject stewardship. And that pretty much will locate any resource in your library dealing with money or giving. If you know of a resource that doesn't show up in the rule, you can always add it manually. So let me take a moment to show that because I don't do this normally. So I'm going to click on the little book icon at the top left. That's called the library icon. And we would just simply, let's say I knew the book. It was just titled Giving. All right. And I'm just going to grab any book just for demonstrative purposes. Now, the way Logos has this set up, it's a little awkward, but once you know this, it's a piece of cake. So I'm just going to grab this first book. I'm going to left click on the title, holding the left mouse button down. I'm going to drag that over here to the left where that little plus is. Now, as soon as I get over to the plus area, that gray area, you notice that the library disappeared. And now what I see is the book, the title, and a little shortcut. And as long as I drop it in this area, the book will get added to my list of resources. So that's a great way to add books where the rule the rule doesn't get it in case the rule falls short in getting all your books. And then if you want to remove it, you just float your mouse on the book and click the X. Now, also another side to this equation is you may see a resource in here that's not appropriate. So if I were to scroll down and look at this, let's see, here I have Living Out the Christian Work Ethic. It's one of my webinars I did. It is related to money because it's dealing with work, but it really is not appropriate in here because it's just a personal book. So what we can do is left click on the title and drag that up to the other section at the right called minus these resources. And when you release your left mouse button, you'll notice that the book appears here in the list, but now it's gone from our collection. So these three methods will allow you to refine that collection list and give it the kind of set of books that only you want. The rule is so powerful because if you add books in the future that follow this rule, they're going to automatically show up in the collection. So it's dynamic. It grows as your library grows. It's really smart. And then, like I said, you can refine the list by adding or subtracting resources. But try to keep these adding and subtracting to a minimum. Try to be creative with your rules so you can accomplish the selection of books with the rule alone. Okay, great. So thanks for letting me show you that feature. And so that's the collection, and we're going to use that later in the webinar. Now let's jump into the 4 ways to discover biblical passages relating to wealth. So how do you even begin to get a handle on this? So what I've done for you here is I've organized the topic into some major categories. Now you can of course create more subcategories, but you're going to discover as you study this that really there's only several major categories. For example, the first part is how do you become wealthy? Okay, how does money come your way? Well, one way is you inherit wealth, and there are passages in the Bible that talk about wealth that's inherited. Then you have the acquiring the wealth, okay, where actually you do something, where, inheriting sometimes has nothing to do with you taking any action. It's someone else taking an action and giving you something, whereas acquiring involves you. And there's ways of acquiring wealth. There's working, and there's a whole bunch of verses on that. There's borrowing. There's gambling. And then there's this category, stealing, violence, and killing. But those are the major categories of acquiring wealth. So as you're studying the Bible, you can begin to tuck your Bible passages in these categories and begin to see, what does God say about work and money? borrowing in money, gambling in money, etc. Okay, now once you have wealth, once you have funds and money, how do you become a steward of that? And there's some interesting principles in the Bible on the stewardship of it. Of course, there is the saving and the continuous saving. So you acquire the wealth and you save it. Then there's the investing, all right? So you take the money and you put it somewhere else where it can accomplish something. Then there's the loaning out of money, which the scriptures talk a lot about. Then there's the spending of money. There's the giving side of money. And then there's the wasting side of money. And so as you're studying the scriptures, these are the major categories that you want to begin to put these various passages in. And then lastly, and it's kind of like a full circle, here now at the end of your life, or any point in your life, there's the transferring of wealth, the wills, and you're involving the offspring and so forth. Proverbs again talks about how a good man will give money, whether that's land, etc., to his third generation, in other words, to his grandchildren. And so scriptures talk about that. So use this outline to help you organize as you study and this topic, and it'll be very helpful. Onel's got a question. He says, is collections the same way as prioritizing? Yes and no. Let me bring up the prioritization. So I'm going to go to library and I'm going to click prioritize. Now prioritization, and I cover this on my training DVDs, and that's the main place where I cover this topic. But the main purpose of prioritization is to identify a handful, a small selection of key books, so that when you run the Logos books or run the Logos reports against your Logos books, and information starts to come back in the report, the information is organized by the books of your priority. So for example, if I was running the Bible Word Study Report, my preferred or prioritized dictionaries would be the first ones in the list. So I would want my favorite books or certain key books in my prioritization list, so my Bible Word Study Report reflected that. And that way you're not having to jump around to all these resources, but that your preferred ones come up first in the list. So think of prioritization as the preferred books that show up in your reports.